how retailers analyze.
So let's dive right into this then, the psychographics. Let's go on to the next slide.
Next slide. We looked at the way psychographics classification schemes work is basically the U.S. population is divided into a number of different segments.
And how many segments would you say, or psychographic categories are there?
Yeah, there's roughly about 60 to 65, and they all have these humorous names, like laptops and lattes, or milk and cookies, or salt of the earth. And again, remember, these can be offensive, but they all have these these kind of humorous names. And so what we did was we found out what the distribution of SOHI's households was across these 60 some odd psychographic segments. And the ones that were the most prevalent in the SOHI district are on this slide here. The first one being inner city tenants. So why don't we move to the next slide and just start with that.
Okay.
You see some here on this slide. You see some characteristics of inner city tenants. It's a diverse mix, relatively low income. But what's interesting about this group is that these are people who are working part or sometimes even full-time and attending college. And earning a college degree is really at the forefront of their goals, and they're working to fund their education. And some of them are even raising children, perhaps even as single parents at the same time. So, and this is by far and away the largest psychographic segment we see in SOHI, 34.5% of all households. These are just a diverse mix of college students who are doing what they need to do to get a degree.
But as you mentioned here, sometimes they're single parents, a single mother that's trying to get a degree at MATC and working part-time or full-time at one of the local hotels or retail establishments in the area, and so it's. I would assume that it's not just the typical Marquette student or to that effect.
No, not at all, and it doesn't seem to be a typical Marquette student, and these are not only are these are people who are working very hard. Only 7% of them are on public assistance. So this is a group that is occupying every minute of their day with either studying, work, or raising their children. And considerable minority do not have a car, which is very relevant to 27th Street. They're reliant on transit or foot to do their shopping or fast food or whatever. Now the other piece of this. It's often said SOHI district has a very high percentage of renters, and that is true. Here you can perhaps understand that a little bit more in that these are students, and these are students also who don't have an enormous amount of money. But most importantly here, they're students, and students tend to rent. It's an understandable choice that they're making.
Makes sense to me.
So that's inner city tenants. If we move on to the next slide, we see some of their consumer proclivities. And again, a lot of these are understandable. Fast food restaurants, low and moderately priced supermarkets, discount stores, and a number of other these categories might be related to the children, to the kids that are in a number of these households. Video game systems, baby products, and furniture, so on and so forth. This psychographic segment also does go out, and those might not necessarily be the ones who have children, but they do go out to see movies, bars, dance clubs. Again, they're young, and a lot of them are college students, and that's what college students do. So this is again a third of the trade area. So this is our most important psychographic segment.
Okay.
Now, should we move on to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, the next one's City Commons, and that's 22.8%. This is a largely African-American segment, 83%. And half of them have kids. Many of them are single-parent families. Very low income, again, about $16,600 is the median. High unemployment, high usage of public assistance. very poorly educated. And if you go to the next slide, you see some of the consumer proclivities of this segment. Again, not always so different from what we saw before. Discount stores, fast food and family restaurants, baby and children's products and clothing, so on and so forth.
Okay.
So that's the second largest segment. Now, if we go through these, the next one on slide 13, Social Security set, that's 15.3, and these are older. 4 out of 10 are age 65 or older. They're often widowed or whenever married. Again, very low incomes here. 16,600 is the median. And while they've accumulated some wealth over their lifetimes, there's again a lot of use of public assistance, Medicare and Medicaid, poorly educated. And again, with this one, more than 50% do not have a car, and these are senior citizens who do not have a car. So perhaps this group is more reliant than any other on what sort of retail you can find on 27th Street.
Okay.
And the next slide, this group, for obvious reasons, isn't as big of a contributor to retail sales. In general, they will shop discount stores and grocery stores close to home, but these are mostly homebound. So they're obviously not going out at night, and they're not on the street all that much. Okay. The next one we have is City Dimensions. That's 14.5%, and that's a very diverse group. A low income, not as low income as the last two segments we've seen, but low income, 27,600 as the median. Again, poorly educated. Most in this group do have a car. So they are more mobile, and for instance, they are more easily able to access something like a Miller Parkway and the retail there.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you look at the next slide, you see what kinds of retail they tend to support. Again, you see discount stores again, the video game systems, branded athletic shoes. You start to see a lot of the same categories, and that's why you get the retail brands that you often do in neighborhoods like these.
Okay. Yes, I'm familiar with the AutoZone, the Foot Locker, even the GameStop. I do see these in similar neighborhoods in Milwaukee, similar to the SOHI district in Milwaukee.
Right. Now, one point to make here is that what you often, will see in a neighborhood like this, there's high transient population. Again, that's not necessarily meant in the pejorative way that it's often that's often suggested. Transient sometimes means college students, for instance, who are moving. Yeah, they're moving to a college town and they're leaving it. But in any event, transient often means a demand for bed and bath, kitchenwares, even if not the highest price bed and bath and kitchenwares, but these are goods that people who are moving will demand. And that's often a category which is very undersupplied on streets like this, despite the apparent demand.
That's a good point to make as we look at our business recruitment strategy.
Right. Finally,
moving on to the next slide.
Yep, moving on to the next slide, slide 17. There's college towns, which is 5.1%, and this is more along the lines of your typical Marquette student.
Okay.
You see 41% are enrolled in college or graduate school, and enrolled right now, and that does not include the people in this segment who still work at a university, even though they are no longer a student there, whether they're teaching or researching. 40% have a bachelor's degree, which is well above national averages. Mostly white. Again, though, you see the median household income here, $30,000, is not high, and that's typical of college area environments, and that's something to keep in mind here in SOHI, as I said earlier. That the low medians can be traced to some extent to the large student population.
I do have to admit I'm a avid Target shopper, and I see a number of Marquette jerseys, sweaters, and other Marquette gear in Target near the SOHI district on Miller Parkway.
Right.
And it was seen with the low income, medium income, that these would be the discount. That would be the type of discount store that they would be attracted to.
Yep.